What if you could go to your doctor's office without having to go to the doctor's office? Well, before I get into my idea, let me tell you the story about how I ended up here. When I was 14, I was accidentally struck in the head with a baseball bat, and it almost killed me. And afterwards, I was misdiagnosed with having post-traumatic stress disorder. When I was 27, I had a panic attack that, quite frankly, it scared me so bad that I sought out the help of a neurologist. And after working with her for almost a year, she discovered that I did not have PTSD, but instead what I had been experiencing for 13 years were seizures that were caused by my traumatic brain injury. She put me on an anti-seizure medication, and almost overnight, so many things about my mental state and my state of mind changed. Well, in 2009, almost by accident, I happened to read an article that was on a speech that Robert Gates, the former Secretary of Defense, had given to the graduating class of West Point. And in it, he talked about how the DoD was going to begin investing billions of dollars year after year to address the PTSD epidemic that's been plaguing all of the branches of the military. This got me thinking. I grew up around the VA. My stepfather was an administrator for them for over 30 years. And after I read the article, I thought that maybe the best way to address this problem would be to have engagement begin early on in a service member's career and have it continue on into the rest of their lives. I knew from my own experience that the most effective mechanism for me to deal with my seizures, which mimicked the symptoms similar to PTSD, was just having someone to talk to. Now, a lot's been done to address mental health in the military as well as in the VA, but many service members do not proactively engage in their mental health care, and the reason is that there is a stigma attached with having mental health issues, as well as there can be real-world implications. Because a service member can possibly be pulled away from their unit, or they can lose their rank or pay, or they could possibly get passed over for advancement, or they could even be discharged. The result is, as troops transition to veteran status, some return suffering traumatic experiences that are having a dramatic effect on their transition back to civilian life. So I approached the Salt Lake VA with the idea of connecting active duty troops with VA practitioners from their home state while they were deployed, and have this all be done through secure video conferencing. Well, the VA agreed to test the concept of online care by teaching relaxation exercises to a small group of veterans to see if they would have the same retention rate or better as doing it in person, face-to-face. The only catch in all of this was that in order to enable the study, I had to create a secure, web-based, scalable, high-definition video technology that worked on any computing device that had an internet connection and a webcam. No problem, right? So what does someone with no healthcare or IT experience do? I mean, I come from a real estate background. I had an idea and a willing partner, but I had absolutely no idea on how I could make any of this happen. Well, I thought that after some initial encouragement and going to one investor meeting, I was convinced that investors were just going to line up and give me millions of dollars in order to make this happen. And that just did not happen. Well, in 2011, I met a man who was willing to invest into my idea. He had access to the best healthcare in Utah, but he wouldn't go to the doctor. And the reason is because the experience, typically for a 30-minute long consult at best, would take up his entire day. When he saw what my team was working on, he quickly invested into the company. That got us up and running, and that's how I got here. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I want to talk to you about my personal mission. I want you and your healthcare providers to meet online. Really, what I want to do is bring back the house call and into the 21st century. Now, online healthcare is not a new idea. It's just the one thing that we still don't widely do. I mean, if you stop and think about it, it is the last holdout in our daily lives that has not made the transition to the internet. We socialize, we shop, we learn, we bank, Hell, we date online, but we don't meet with our healthcare providers. I was invited to speak to you because I work with an amazing and talented group of individuals. And we've created a technology that enables patients and providers to meet virtually just as they would in person. I'd like to highlight some of the stories of people using our technology, as well as other types of connected healthcare technologies that are breaking down those traditional barriers and creating a new continuum of care. Now, first, let's start with the Confederated Tribes of the Goshute Reservation. The Goshutes are one of the most rurally isolated tribes in the U.S. The reservation, which is in Ibapaw, Utah, is 90 miles south of Wendover on the Utah-Nevada border. There's only one road in and one road out of Ibapaw. If they need gas or groceries, they have to travel an hour and a half each way. If they need health care, they either have to travel 2.5 hours to Elko, Nevada, or 3.5 hours here to Salt Lake. Health care is one of the biggest issues that the tribe faces. It's such a problem that they've hired a driver full-time just to be able to get the tribal members to and from their appointments. Well, early on in the development of my company's technology, we were awarded a grant from the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Development, in which we were to introduce our technology as well as put internet in the homes of the tribal members. Now, this was to be utilized for the delivery of mental health care. One thing that I learned quickly when I was working with the tribe is that when it came to mental health care, they only wanted to meet with Native American providers. That's when I was introduced to Arnold Thomas. Arnold is a Shoshone Paiute. He's blind and he's a social worker. Arnold was able to use our technology along with speech recognition software to meet with the tribal members remotely from his home office in Salt Lake. Seeing that blew me away. It flipped a switch for me. It made me realize that online healthcare had so many possibilities on both the provider as well as the patient side. It not only enables the delivery of healthcare, but it enables people to do things that they couldn't do before. In this scenario, Arnold had exactly the same problem that the tribe did: transportation. Being able to meet with the tribal members from his home office enabled him to see more patients and have more time for doing so. Now, it was key in my understanding in what was truly lacking in healthcare: easy access. That's when online healthcare went from a business to a mission for me. And next, let me introduce you to the Zahra charity. Zahra is growing the infrastructure for specialized neurorehabilitative care in Morocco. The founder of Zahra, Mohammed Zbia, started the charity after his brother suffered a traumatic brain injury and slipped into a coma. Now, fortunately, Mohammed's brother was brought to the U.S. for treatment. Unfortunately, most people that have suffered traumatic brain injuries in Morocco are not that lucky. If you consider traumatic brain injuries alone, there are 20,000 new cases in Morocco every single year. If we add to those numbers the other categories of patients who have different types of neurological disabilities, it becomes clear that this is a tragic situation. Now, one case study of a patient being treated online is with, we'll call him patient Ahmed. Now, Ahmed is 65, and he recently suffered a stroke, but he's now on the road to recovery. A U.S. specialist was able to work with the Moroccan care team on the ground in order to provide care. Now, Ahmed is very happy with his care. He is optimistic about his future. One side note that Ahmed said about his care that I thought was interesting was that he felt better about his treatment after his very first session. Being examined by a U.S. specialist who was able to work with the Moroccan care team was a very big deal to him, and it gave him a sense of comfort because he knew that he was in capable hands. Now, finally, let's move on to the University of Utah healthcare system. UUHC is recognized as one of the greatest hospital systems in the Mountain West. Now, they are the only regional academic medical center that covers 6 states. They have a geographic footprint that represents 10% of the geography of the U.S., but all of their main facilities are within a 1 square mile radius of each other, and most of their patients live more than an hour away. UUHC, just by the demographics of their patients alone, has had to become a thought leader when it comes to online healthcare. They've implemented numerous technologies and platforms in all of their clinics and hospitals, enabling patients and providers to connect virtually just as they would in person. Now, this cuts down on travel, provider limitations, and the financial limitations of their patients. My favorite example of how online care is being used up at the U is in the newborn intensive care unit. Specifically, there was a mother who gave birth to a premature baby. Now, the mother had a life-threatening condition that required her to be hospitalized right after the birth. This meant that she had to be transferred to a different wing of the hospital and was unable to be with her baby in the ICU. It was critical that they gave the mother time with her child. So they took 2 tablet computers, and they gave one to the mother, and they gave the other to the baby's nurse. The nurse took the tablet and showed the mother what was going on with the baby, as well as was conversing with her about her baby's treatment. And afterwards, she took the tablet and left it next to the baby's bedside, just so the mother could be with her child. I love that story. Now, online healthcare is not a new idea. Salt Lake City is becoming one of the hubs of online healthcare, and we know that Utah is on the right track. But this goes out to the rest of the world that hopefully hears this message. I want you to meet with your healthcare providers online. I want you to leave with the mindset that the time has come to do so. I mean, look at all of the cool technology that's already out there and in use. You can use your smartphone to track anything, literally anything about your life. You can have a remote monitor notify your doctor in real time that you're having a problem, even before you know you're having a problem. You can even have surgery performed by a surgeon thousands of miles away using robotic technologies. But what is still not happening on a wide scale is just the simple act of meeting and interacting with your healthcare providers online. And my goal is simple. I want to make online healthcare as common as online shopping. I'm working to build the digital bridge between us and our healthcare providers. And I hope you will walk it with me. Thank you.